Good evening. I'm Armando Cuellar, President of the Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees. This public hearing is being conducted in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. The board is meeting by the use of Google Meets and telephone transmission, which allows two-way communication for members of the public during public comment. A recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The time now is 5:34, and I call this public hearing to order. I'll now begin the roll call. Calling each board member by name. When I call your name, signify your presence by saying here or present. Mr. Isidoro Nieto.
Present.
Mrs. Jackie Sustaita.
Present.
Jose Trevino.
Present.
Dr. Jaime Rodriguez. Mr. Mark de los Santos. And Mr. Andrew Gonzalez. Myself, Armando Cuellar. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is in attendance. We go to item 3, public hearing on the Texas Academic Performance Report, TAPR. Dr. Valdez.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, trustees, and members of the audience. Statute requires that districts hold a hearing for public discussion on the school district's annual report. That report is called the Texas Academic Performance Report, otherwise known as TAPR. Administration will present the 2021 Weslaco ISD TAPR report. Team, you may proceed.
Good evening, Dr. Valdez, President Cuellar, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present on the TAPR. For the rest of the presentation, we will refer to it as the TAPR. As Dr. Valdez has already mentioned, we are required by statute to present. Now, you're wondering, why are we presenting 2021 accountability data? The statute requires us to present within 90 days of release, and the state of Texas released this report at the end of January. So we're within the time of that. On your screen, you can see the contributors to this presentation. The TAPR doesn't only cover academic accountability, it covers safety and security, it covers staffing and finances. So thus each, the contributors that are listed here will be presenting. In 2021, the Weslaco ISD received an accountability rating of not rated, declared state of disaster. As a matter of fact, all districts and schools were not rated in 2021 due to COVID-19, the same as in 2020. Accreditation status, we are required to present to the community the accreditation status of a district. For 2020 and 2021, there is no accreditation status. That was actually set aside as a result of the pandemic. But Weslaco has always been an accredited district. For 2021, with respect to special education determination status, based on the results-driven accountability, which used to be the PBMAS, Weslaco ISD is in needs intervention with respect to the 2021 special education. And that determination comes as a result of the results based on testing last year. We want to preface this presentation that last year we had approximately 25% of our students actually participated, so the academic accountability data is representative of 25% of our population, not 100%, which we have every single year. I'm going to pass this on to Mr. Abel Aguilar, who is our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education Leadership, which will cover that data.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Thank you, Dr. Valdez, Mr. Board President Cuellar, members of the board. Just to give you a little piggyback off what Mr. Trevino just mentioned, this was our 2019 data that you have before you. As you can see, we had all our campuses, with a letter grade rating of an A or a B, with some on the cusp of attaining that A. So there was very good, strong performance coming out of 2019 before we went into the COVID pandemic. So just want to reference the domains that we're looking at, where we've been going full throttle with our staff and our administrators, and within our curriculum and instruction. We're focusing on academic growth. We are really looking at where are our students starting and where will they end up at the end. We're also looking at our student achievement and what we're going to be able to measure and control and moving forward. But again, That's our big focus piece, is the academic growth. So you're going to see that as we're moving along. So here, what you have before you is comparison data from 2019 and 2021. So again, I want to reference again that highlighted portion at the very bottom. You do have 2021 performance reflects approximately 25% of students testing for Weslaco ISD. Now, in certain grade levels or content areas, it may be a little different on the percentages, lower or higher, but overall, it's 25% of our students that tested. So when you look at the data, and when you look at it 2019, if you look at the purple for Weslaco ISD, the orange, or the burnt orange, and then the blue, the burnt orange represents a region and the blue represents a state. So you can see in 19 where Weslaco ISD was hovering over the region and the state in all categories, as we're going to go through, with the exception of maybe one or two areas. But you see the steep decline across the board with the state, the region, and of course our district. Well, this is something that we acknowledge and we're working through. But we're going to continue. We're continuing to look at this, working through it, and we're making adjustments every day as we address our needs within our district. What you have here is your math performance for third, fourth, and fifth. So you see the year over year from third, fourth, and fifth grade on the percentages for 25% of our students who tested. When we look at the next one for elementary, we're looking at writing and science. So again, see the comparisons from 2019, and you see overall in all three phases of the region and the state, that was also a decline. When we're looking at the writing for 21, same thing for science. You see that across the board when we're looking at those percentages. When we're looking at middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th for reading, you see 19, and then you see 21 in 6th grade. So you see the percentages there, how they compare from the previous year to the current year.
Straight up, may I
Yes,
ask you a
ma'am,
question?
absolutely.
Are we looking at 25% of our total student body, that's what tested?
Yes, ma'am.
So have we, do other school districts in our region, do we know the percentage of their students who tested? Maybe we're getting a smaller snapshot than the other school districts. Do we know what percentage of their kids tested in the region?
We've not seen that data from other campuses,
other
from other
districts.
districts, excuse me. Much of the problem has to do with the fact that Texas Education Agency never came out and said students have to come in to
Right.
test, right? And so that pretty much, the opportunity to bring the students in was very difficult. It was not an easy thing. But as far as data from other districts, we've not
We
seen that
don't
yet.
know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. I wonder if they got more kids into test and we got less, or we're about the same as them. It's just a
We can look at
question.
We can look at it, and we were discussing it, and when you're comparing across the state, and if you are looking further up north, a lot of the patterns that we did see, the virtual learning wasn't so much of an option in many of the districts up north Texas.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of the only options they had was coming to school.
And that's also what drove the state results so high. Because
Absolutely,
North
sir.
Texas.
Yes, a lot of that North Texas.
And so the public understands that 21 data, when they look at that, that was during that time period, like I said, when students had an option to come in and test, or if not, parents could choose for them to stay home.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
I'm thinking maybe that's why we're a little bit lower.
Absolutely.
That's not the true number of what we.
No,
Exactly.
It's not an accurate snapshot.
Exactly. It's not an accurate snapshot when we're looking at it. But we're aware of this, that we were anticipating some of this data that was going to, come out like this. But going back, when we're looking at our 40 groups, those are significant discussions that we have, because when we're compared to North Texas schools, they had that opportunity to
Right.
come to school every day. So, again, we're not making excuses. We're just moving forward.
Right.
We're focusing on growth. We're doing what's going to be best for our students and our staff. And we know that our staff is working very hard on the campuses. And we do follow up with our administrators on what's taking place. So we're moving ahead. We see, we're very optimistic of the growth that we're going to make, for our students. But that's going to be the focal point. And again, we honored the system for our parents, and they chose to keep them home last year. And like I said, 75% chose to keep them at home.
Will we
Okay.
be doing that this year, or are they have to come in
They
this
have
year?
to
They
come
have
in.
to test.
Okay.
They have to come in. It's a requirement. They have to
Okay.
come in. So now we're looking at 6th, 7th, and 8th, and you see some of that performance. Of course, you see the data for 6th, 7th, and again, the comparison from 2019. and again from 2019 to 2021. So again, we're looking at that very closely, although here in 8th grade in math, you did see an increase there, with the 25% that did test there in 7th grade. Okay, so the next one we have middle school writing, science, and social studies. Again, you see that comparison and the dips that we see across the board, and it's pretty much a consistent pattern that we're seeing across all the grade levels and content areas. Again, here before you, you see English 1, English 2, and Algebra 1. Now here you got some close comparisons based on the students that did assess from the previous year to our current year. If you look at English 1, that had a very, very good comparison there. It wasn't too much of a decrease. You see English 2 pretty much increased. We had a 1% increase from the previous year. And then, of course, you see the drop in Algebra 1 from the previous year there.
It's important to note that we had a higher percentage in the high schools, and that's obvious because they need these end-of-course assessments to graduate. So thus we saw the greater numbers in the high schools.
Yes. So you have here biology and U.S. history. Again, you see those percentages there from 19 to 21 in biology, and the same for U.S. history. The same thing that we're looking at. Okay, what you have here is again 19 comparison. So if we go back to the percentage of approaches, means that they're passing the STAR assessment, but they're not quite, they're still going to struggle when you're looking at the approaches. But there, you see where we were up in 2019 compared to 2021. You see that decrease there. Now when we jump into the next slide, that's at the meets level for performance. Right there it indicates that students are working on grade level for that particular grade. So again, you see the comparison from the previous year to 2019 to 2021. You see that comparison there, and these for all our student groups that we have. And again, working above grade level would be our master's performance that we see for all our subjects, and we see where we compare to 2019. Okay, attendance rate.
So as you can see, the attendance rate here, just a comparison, this is always going to be lagging data. So again, that's the reason why you see good percentages here, right? But this is a whole year behind. With respect to the dropout rate, lower percentage is better, like golf, right? You want a lower score. Thus, the lower the score, the better. That means that we are below the dropout rate. We want to make sure that our students stay with us. Our goal is, of course, for that to be at 0 at one day. Graduation rates, the state of Texas affords us the opportunity of giving us credit for either the 4-year graduation rate, 5 years, or 6 years. And thus, in this case, the 5-year rate for that year was the one that had the better percentage. And so they give you credit for that. Federal government doesn't do that. The state of Texas does allow that. I'm going to pass this on to Dr. Cindy Sid, who's going to continue on with the next few slides.
Before Dr. Sid, any questions regarding the academic piece? Any additional questions? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Valdez, President Cuellar, and members of the board. I will be presenting on the graduation plans as well as the CCMR indicators and also enrollment in post-secondary education. So you see on this slide, you see the comparison of the percentage of students who actually graduated with the foundation high school program with endorsements, or and also the DLA, or what we're calling the Distinguished Level of Achievement Plan for cohort 2019 and 2020. So as you can see, with Weslaco ISD, we are above the state and slightly lower than the region. Next slide. So as far as college, career, and military ready is concerned, this is a very important part of the high school accountability. So in order for students to earn the CCMR, or what we're calling CCMR ready, they need to earn or meet at least one of the 9 indicators, okay? So I'm happy to report as far as the class of 2020, Weslaco ISD is above the region as well as the state. So completion of dual courses as well as AP performance are part of the CCMR indicators as I was talking about previously. So as far as dual course credit completion is concerned, it's being counted for the taper report if the students actually earn 3 hours in English, 3 hours in math, or earn 9 hours in other subject areas. So as you can see, as far as dual credit course completion is concerned, we are above the state. And as far as AP participation and AP performance is concerned, we do have a little bit of work to do there. And the main reason why it's a little bit lower as far as dual credit course completion is concerned, because a lot of our students are choosing to earn dual credit courses instead of being in AP. What we do is still have a significant number of students who are taking AP courses. As far as college readiness exam is concerned, our students take either the SAT or the ACT. The most popular one, of course, is the ACT. As a matter of fact, we just had a district-wide testing for all our juniors yesterday for all our 3 high schools. And so as far as the one on top, the chart on top, or the graph on, the chart on top says SAT, ACT tested. This is the percentage of students who actually tested, and the formula is they divide it by the number of all our graduates. Okay, so you'll see the class of 2019 and as well as the class of 2020. At or above criterion, that would be the performance when it comes to the SAT and the ACT. And as far as the average for the SAT is concerned, for all subjects, I am happy to report that we are above the region and also above the state. And as far as the average ACT is concerned, we are slightly below the state, but we are above the region. We are averaging about 18.3 for class of 2020 and for class of 2019, 18.2.
Ma'am, I had a question on the
Yes.
SAT and ACT. What type of system do we have in place to try to encourage every student to test?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we do have this district-wide initiative where we actually test all our juniors every
junior.
single year as far as ACT is concerned. So that is the most popular one among our kiddos because now our Texas universities, well, majority of our kiddos go to our Texas public universities. Some go out of state. As far as Ivy League school is concerned, that is when the students actually try to test out on the subject areas for SAT when they are applying for Ivy League school. But as far as ACT is concerned, we do try to test all of our juniors. And they have also other opportunities during their senior year.
Okay.
Okay? So this report is coming from TA and Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. This actually shows us the enrollment of our graduates in post-secondary education. It is to be noted, however, that these numbers here, or this percentage, it only shows the students who are attending or who attended Texas public schools. Yes, and it does not account for students who actually who attended out of state or the private universities. So the bottom graph shows us the percentage of students who attended college, 2-year or 4-year public universities here in Texas for the year, those who graduated in 2019 and 2018, and those who did not need to enroll in any developmental courses or any remediation courses. So this slide shows us the student performance of our students during their first year or the first year that they matriculated in college. And the student's performance is being measured by GPA. And again, the numbers are quite low when it comes to the total number of students who are attending the 4-year and 2-year, because we're only, TEA and Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board is only accounting for students who are attending the 2-year or 4-year public universities or colleges in Texas. And here in this report, it's broken down by the high schools. And that's, I believe, the end of my presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Garcia, and he's going to talk about disciplinary incidents and, I believe, school violence prevention policies.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sid. Good evening, Mr. Cuellar, President Cuellar, members of the board. Dr. Valdez, the next portion of the report is actually the disciplinary incidents by campus, by action codes. And basically, this report right here just talks about how we're doing discipline-wise. And there's a certain way that we are identified, there's a certain methodology that they use to identify the persistently dangerous schools, okay? And before you, you do have the 4 bullets that are there on how we identify or how they identify the persistently dangerous schools that are required if we are to implement the unsafe school choice option. So the first one, of course, is that the campus is coded as a regular instructional campus. The second bullet, if the campus has reported to the PEMS in the Discipline Action Extension Complex that the location of the incident occurred on campus or off campus at a school-sponsored activity. And either of the next 2 bullets, either the campus has fewer than 200 students and has reported to PEMS on the Discipline Action Extension Complex 2 or more selected mandatory expulsion incidents in each of the 3 most recent consecutive years. So this is not the one that we are under. We actually fall under the next bullet because obviously we have more than 200 students. So it says a campus has 201 or more students and has a number of mandatory expellable incidents per year equal to 1% or more of its enrollment in each of the 3 most recent consecutive years for which data is available. So if you look at the next chart, I'm happy to report that we didn't have any incidents. Of course, obviously, it's because usually when we have these incidents at 36s, which is a felony controlled substance violation, these are usually at the high schools, right? And of course, during this year, a lot of our students opted for going virtual, right? So that's why we didn't have any violations for that year. The next is just a disciplinary action reason codes that we use for placement into one of the alternative programs. Obviously, the most used one is at 36, as I spoke about earlier. And of course, in this case, the incidents do represent less than 1% of our enrollment, which makes WISD not a persistently dangerous school under the ESSA. And as a consequence, we do not have to offer the school choice, the unsafe school option for students. The next slide for me is just some of the prevention and intervention procedures that we use. This year, we have really focused a lot, since the kids came back, a lot of the things that we do in order to improve discipline or to minimize discipline issues at the schools. They're there for you, but some of the ones that I do want to mention, of course, is school resource officers that we brought in 2 or 3 years ago. That has really deterred a lot of discipline problems. The first offender program, of course, when students, this is with the Weslaco PD. The surveillance cameras, we're always making sure, working with technology, just to make sure that our cameras are always working. The vaping, as you all know, this year we've really had a big hit with students and vaping. So we're trying out a lot of strategies, presentations in order to deter the kids from, vaping. The weekly advisory period lessons, they talk about a lot of the topics during the weekly advisory. The restorative justice training is another one that I think is very important for students to be able to, manage their differences and talk about, what we can do as students to be able to resolve the issues between each other. The SEL lessons, of course, in the last 2-3 years, we've really focused a lot on the SEL lessons through Ripple Effects and Panorama. Those are the programs that we use. This year, we are really looking at the transition plans to and from the alternative programs, okay? Because as required through Chapter 37, we have to not only develop the transition plans to the alternative campus, but also when they leave the alternative campus back to the regular schools. So we're really, really looking at this very, very carefully. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the monthly behavior coordinator meetings. And basically, those meetings are not taking place monthly. They're taking place every 2 weeks because we see the need. Actually, we had one today. We are reviewing a lot of information, working very closely, of course, with the counseling department, with Mr. Reina, just to make sure that we're all working in unison, to make sure that we try to deter the discipline issues and lessen the recidivism that we have from our campuses to the alternative program. So it's I think that this year, the last year or two, we've seen a lot of discipline problems, obviously, because the kids, they've been at home a lot. So we're starting to see the effects of that, but we're trying to really hit that very hard with our campuses. So.
Dr. Garcia, last meeting that we had, we talked about the policy of the behavior and this, and some of the feedback I got after the meeting was, who are the behavior coordinators and who, people don't know, the kids, are they available to the kids, or who are the behavior coordinators?
Yes, thank you for that question. And actually, if you look in our website, it is going to be there. We updated it because sometimes the principals go ahead and assign a different behavior coordinator. Every campus has a behavior coordinator, and that's mandated through Chapter 37. So, it's updated. It's on the website.
So it's like somebody like already
Yes.
in the school / you're also helping us with behavior.
Yes, we have.
coordination?
I don't know if anybody.
It's an additional duty.
But yes, it's actually one of the CIFs.
Administrative.
Okay.
That is usually the behavior coordinator. In Ms. Wells' case and Mr. Zamora's case, they are the behavior coordinators because they don't have any other administrators.
Okay.
So yes, every campus has a behavior coordinator, and I want to applaud them because the last 3 or 4 months we've been working very hard, and it's tough for them because they've got all their responsibilities, and aside from that, they really have to. They are the disciplined person. Pardon me. On campus. So
I believe,
kudos to them.
I believe it should be in the student handbook that the students receive at the beginning of the year, or administration lets them know also who's in charge of the major discipline
Right.
or the coordinator.
And I want to add also very important that for the public and for everyone to know that behavior coordinators is the person that you go to on discipline issues,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that they are the only ones that handle discipline.
Correct.
But that is the go-to person on campus, because the other administrators do also do the discipline referrals and all that. If we do investigations and stuff, though, we try to go with the behavior coordinator, and then they train, all of their administrators. But yes,
Okay.
they are. Every campus has one. They are on our website.
I'm sure every campus
Very
knows
good
who
question.
theirs is, yeah, okay.
Yes. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Valdez, Coach Cuellar, members of the board. I'll be presenting on behalf of Human Resources for the staff information. So what you have in front of you, and just a couple things that we can make note of. At Snapshot in October of 20, you were looking at roughly 2,300 staff members. So that's the number that those percentages, and again, that's just a rough estimate, just round it off. So at that time, if you looked at professional staff, WISD was running at roughly 59.7% of our staff was professional, which was greater than the region at the time, less than the state in overall staff. If you take a look at percentage of teachers out of that 2,000, roughly 300, we were greater in the number of teachers than Region 1 and slightly running behind the state. If you look at professional support, we were even with the state and ahead of the region. Now, this next column here, or this next row with campus administration, I'll make a couple special notes. If you take a look, the state was at 3.0%, the region was at 2.9%, and WISD was at 1.2%. What doesn't get picked up in that area are our curriculum instructional facilitators based on funding. However, if you add in our facilitators, we come up to 2.7%. So we would be just behind the region and the state, if you'd see that. Central office administration, 1.1%, which is greater than the region slightly and just less than the state. Educational aides, 8.9%, less than the region and the state. And if you look at auxiliary staff, we are sitting at roughly 31.4%, which runs just behind the region, but much greater. Both the region and the district are greater than the state. Next, we'll get to the number of the years of experience with our teaching staff. So you can take a look, and obviously as you'll look through all of it, it shows that we do a fine job of retaining our staff. Paying our staff will come up, but again, these are some of the mitigating factors that go to it. But again, as you look. So for beginning teachers, we were at 0.3. Compared to the region, we are far better. Again, this is one of those areas where golf might be the way we'd want to look at it. Lower score here. And beginning teachers, 6.7 across the state, so we did far better in that area. You see that trend continues as you get the years 1 to 5. 8.8% of our staff is at the 1 to 5 area. Again, far lower than the region and the state. When you climb up in experience, this shows how we begin to retain our teachers. And again, we would like this number to stay a little higher. It gives us experienced teachers in the classrooms with our students. 17.2%, but again, we are a little bit behind the region and the state at that. Where we start to show significant gain is as you gain, again, more years of experience. From years 11 to 20, 42% of our teaching staff is between 11 and 20 years of experience. Greater than the region, far greater than the state. Over 20 years of experience, 31.7%, far greater than the region, even more than that, almost double of the state. Turnover rate for teachers, then we're looking at 6.3% for Weslaco ISD, 8.3% for the region, 14.3% for the state. Any questions in reference to those first? As we continue now, we'll take a look at salaries. So for beginning teachers, our beginning salary for teachers is $53,975. Better than the region, better than the state. For years 1 to 5 averaged in, we're sitting at an average of $53,851. You can see then that we do exceed the region in that level, and we do exceed the state. We continue with that through years 6 through 10, $56,250, greater than the region by some and the state. And the state and the region are very close. From 11 to 20 years, we continue to stay above the region and the state. It's in the years of 21 to 30, and that is a large range, 10 years. At that time, we averaged 64,637. We fall just below the region and just below the state as far as average pay for 21 to 30 years. And then as you go over 30 years of experience, you can see that we are greater than the region and the state. Next slide we have is experience of campus leadership. Average years of experience by principals, you can see that WISD does have experienced principals in their buildings at 7.9 years of experience, greater than the region, greater than the state. Same with average years of experience, average years of experience of principals, average years with the district. They've been with the district long enough, 7.7 with the district, compared to 6.4 and 5.5. Average years with assistant principals. And again, remember, this number of assistant principals would be somewhat smaller. We didn't calculate the SIFs in this one. We just left it as the APs. And again, we are at 4.3, which is smaller than the region and the state. Average years experience with assistant principals with the district. Again, that number does stay smaller, and we didn't average in. We just put the SIFs in that first slide we mentioned. Any questions or comments in reference to the HR slides?
The teacher salaries, the average from 21 to 30 years, why do we think that we're a little bit lower? Why would that be?
Well, and again, it
Region.
could be we have maybe a higher number sitting at the 21, the 22, then getting over towards the higher number of that range where it gets to the 30s. Because obviously, when we go over 30, then we
Higher.
we're higher. So
Okay.
again, we just may be counting a larger percentage at the 21, 22, 23 rather than 27, 28.
Okay.
We go from there. If there are no other questions at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Valdez, President Cuellar, members of the board. This is the financial report. The one for human resources are for the year 2020, 2021. The financial is for the year 2019, 2020, because this is audited information and the 21 audits were not available for this report yet. The slide 34 has to do with tax rates. The total tax rate for Weslaco ISD for the 2019-20 year was at 107, the region at 123, and the state at 123, or almost 124. We were lower than them. That's the total. On the M&O rate, we were at 105, the region at 102, and the state at 102. The INS, as you all know, we were low at 2 pennies. The region average was 21 pennies, and the state 22. They have more pennies because they have more debt. The next slide is the operating revenues in the general fund, all funds, and this includes the property taxes from the M&O. The district's collections of revenues based on taxes on M&O are 13%, which are lower than the region and the state. The region is at 16% and the state at 43%. On state operating funds, which is the foundation revenue, we are higher than them. The district at 67, region 1 at 64, and the state at 41. Federal funds, we were almost the same as the region at 18% and higher than the state at 12%. Other local revenues, we're at 1%, the region at 2%, and the state at 2%. The next slide is other revenues for the payment of debt, the debt service fund. From the revenues for the districts in the state and the region, for the INS taxes, our average, the percentage of the budget was 16%, the region was 17%, and the state 50%. I mean, they have more bonds, they collect more INS taxes at the state level. The state assistance for debt service, IFA, that's instruction facilities allotment, and also the existing debt allotment. These are the assistance from the state to pay our bonds. From our budget, we received 18%, the region, districts 13%, and the state only 2%. At state levels, and they have higher property values, they collect more in taxes than of everything else. They don't get as much help from the state. Other receipts, which excluding debt service financing, we were at 1%, the region at 23%, and the state at almost 6%. Debt service financing related revenue, from our budget, we were at 63%, the region at 46%, and the state at 42%. Do you have any questions on this information so far? That was revenue and taxes.
No, sir. I don't.
And the last slide has to do with expenditures, and this is all funds by function and type. For the instructional-related expenditures, we're slightly higher than the region and lower than the state. We were at almost the same as the state, 64%, the district, the state, and 61% for the region. Instructional support, we were the same as the region at 14% and higher than the state, which is at 12%. Administration, C&I, campuses, and district, we were at 8%, the region at 11%, and the state at 11%. And district-wide support, the state at 14%, the region at 13%, and the state at 13% as well. That is the last presentation I have on finance. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
So I want to thank the team for contributing to this presentation. The taper report is available on that link, which will take you to an expanded view at the TEA's website, but it's also available at our district website so that all the community can actually review. this report. I don't know if you have any other questions or any comments? All right, thank you all so much. I'll pass this back to Dr. Valdez.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Cuellar, trustees, and members of the public. This concludes our public hearing on the 2021 Weslaco ISD Texas Academic Performance Report.
Thank you, Dr. Valdez. That takes us to item 4 on public comments on the Texas Academic Performance Report taper.
Nobody signed up, but is there anybody who wants to speak about what they saw? Then there are
We have done?
none.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 5, adjournment.
So moved.
Okay. The time now is 6:14, and this public hearing is adjourned.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, definitely.
Public hearing at 5:35, and Dr. Jaime Rodriguez joined the meeting at 5:40.
Oh, yeah.
That's for the record. That takes us to, are we ready to start the regular meeting? Okay, then. Good evening. I'm Armando Cuellar, President of the Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees. This regular board meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. The board is meeting by the use of Google Meets and telephone transmission, which allows two-way communication for members of the public during public comments. A recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The time now is 6:15, and I call this meeting to order. I'll now begin the roll call, calling each board member by name. Signify your presence by saying here or present. When I call your name, Mr. Isidro Nieto,
Present.
Mrs. Jackie Sustaita,
Present.
Coach Jesse Trevino,
Present.
Dr. Jaime Rodriguez,
Present.
Mr. Mark de los Santos,
Present.
and Mr. Andrew Gonzalez.
Present.
Thank you. Let the record show that a quorum of board members are in attendance.
Excuse me, Mr. President, Mr. Gonzalez was on at 5:46.
5:46?
Yes.
Okay, we'll let the record reflect that Mr. Gonzalez joined the public hearing at 5:46. Thank you. Item 3, opening prayer. Dr. Valdez.
Mr. President and trustees, members of the audience, the invocation will be delivered by our counselor at Sam Houston Elementary, Alejandra de la Rosa.
Good evening. Let's please bow our heads. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus, we thank you for giving us another day of life. We ask that you bless all who are present here today. We come to you this evening asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as this meeting begins. May meaningful discussions take place, and may this meeting be guided by your spirit of knowledge and wisdom. Fill us with your grace, O Lord, as we ask that you be with our board members tonight in their deliberations. Help them make wise decisions for the good of all those who have placed their trust and confidence in their leadership. Dear Lord, grant us the humility to always seek your will in all that we do and say. All of this we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Item 4, Pledge of Allegiance, Texas Pledge. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, Mr. Carlos Olvedo, you ready?
Yes, we are.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Dr. Valdez, President Cuellar, members of the board, I'd like to introduce two students from Sam Houston Elementary. The two young ladies, if you can please step forward, and I would like to say a few words about them. We'll start off with Kayla Lizette Valdez. Why don't you get side by side? Side by side, sit. There you go. You can face the audience if you'd like. All right. First of all, we'll start off with Kayla Lizette Valdez, who is a fifth grade student at Sam Houston Elementary and is the daughter of Elizabeth and Jaime Valdez. Kayla is currently a part of the Sam Houston Art Club. She enjoys dancing ballet and is part of Rita's Dance Studio. She looks forward to playing the violin next year in middle school. She hopes to attend one day Texas A&M Kingsville and become a dentist. How about a big hand for Kayla Valdez? Also would like to recognize her parents if they're here. Can they please stand and be recognized? Also tonight with us is Alina Celeste de la Rosa, and she is also a fifth grade student at Sam Houston Elementary. She is the daughter of Alejandra and Juan de la Rosa. Alina is currently a part of the Sam Houston Ocelot Cheerleaders. In her spare time, she attends tumbling. She looks forward to playing the violin next year in middle school as well. She hopes to attend the University of Texas in San Antonio and become a teacher one day. How about a big hand for Alina de la Rosa? And if any family members are here, parents, can they please stand and be recognized? We can turn around now, and everyone can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. Item 5, awards and recognitions. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, we're here to celebrate and recognize the efforts of many of our children. Mr. Robledo, you may proceed.
Well, tonight we have several of our students that we would like to congratulate and honor tonight here at our board meeting. And we're going to start off with students who advanced in UIO solo and ensemble from Weslaco High School. How about a big hand as they enter the room. All right, so tonight we want to congratulate several of our students who have advanced to UIL solo and ensemble state competition after receiving superior ratings. So as I say your name, if you could step forward so we can give you a certificate and recognize you. We'll start off with Cesar Cortez. Angela Reyes. Eliza Gonzalez. Raymond Sanchez. Christian Aguilar. Gabriel Ray. Destiny Cruz. Caitlin Burciaga. Alex Hernandez. Anthony Ortiz. Isabella Sanchez. Tristan Solis. Litzy Cedillo. Angel Colon. Ronaldo Cavazos. Francisco Riojas. Nathaniel Alvarado. Jeremy Abrego. April Almaguer. Antonio de Anda. Kelsey Gonzalez. Samantha Mendez. Ashley Valero. And one more person to recognize, Fernando Perez. And we'd also like to congratulate their band director, Rodrigo Leal. Once again, students, congratulations and good luck at state. You may.
Jesse, you want to go with the next group? Four parents over here.
Yeah. All right, up next, we would like to congratulate and recognize our students from Weslaco East High School who are advancing to state competition.
Are you going to acknowledge parents?
Okay. I do want to recognize the parents also from Weslaco High School. I'd like to recognize them. If they're here in the audience, can you please stand and be recognized?
Oh, that was it right there?
Okay, students, so as I say your name, if you could please stand or move forward so we could recognize you and give you a certificate, okay? So we'll start off with these students who once again advanced to UIL solo and ensemble state competition after receiving superior ratings. We'll start off with Victoria Cruz. Priscilla Caballero. Sarah Hernandez. Santos Camacho. Martín Pérez. Alejandro Alejos. Rick de Alva. Felicity Pompa. Clarissa Rodriguez. Diana Villagomez. Jackie Garza. I'd like to recognize Catherine Lopez. Caitlin Pena. Coral Quiroga. Clarissa Alvarez. Victoria Cruz. Andrea Garcia. Julia Lopez. Once again, congratulations, and we'd also like to recognize their parents. If their parents are here, can they please stand and be recognized, parents? And also, band director, Mr. Armando Cuellar. Once again, congratulations, awesome job, and good luck at state competition. Amazing.
Do the next one. Great job, boys, and then the girls. You do the girls? Okay.
We would like to continue with our awards and recognition as we have some athletes that are coming out, some members of the boys basketball team from Weslaco High School. How about a big hand as they enter the room? So tonight, we want to congratulate the Weslaco High School boys basketball team who just completed the 2022 season with a district record of 12-2. The Panthers are back-to-back 32 6A district champions and by-district champions and were area finalists this season. Congratulations, boys. As I say your name, you can please step forward so we can hand you a certificate. How does that sound? We'll start off with team members. Nicholas Avila. Christopher Chavez. Gabriel Renteria. Andrew Olmeda. Caden Peña. Jake Ramirez. Ryan Salazar. Leonard Smith. Devin Ibarra. Adrian Lopez. Edwin Hernandez. And Noe Casares. We'd also like to recognize coaches Trey Smith, assistant coaches Trey Smith, Mike Yanez, Nate Salazar, Roman Marquez, Isaac Camacho, Julius Marquez, and head coach Gabe Valdez. And we'd also like to recognize your parents for taking you all to practice and being there for you throughout the season. So parents, can you please stand and be recognized? Parents. Congratulations once again. You may exit this way.
Well done, man.
Okay. Up next, we would like to talk a little bit about our girls basketball team from Weslaco High School. Also a very successful year. How about a big hand as they enter the room? Brought some hardware with them.
Congratulations.
We want to congratulate the 2022 Weslaco High School girls basketball team for their outstanding season. Lady Panthers are 32-6A co-district champions and have won the bi-district championship title for 10 consecutive years. They are also area finalists. So, as I say your name in recognition, if you could please step forward so we can hand you a certificate and recognize you. Team members are Destiny Ramos, Melanie Carrion, Artiena Arredondo, Madeline Smith, Savannah Puente, Alexa Davila, Ana Vela, Kennedy Villalpando, Gitzel Fiscal, Alyssa Vasquez, Morgan Perales, Alyssa Delgado, Isabel Magallanes, Raimi Medina, Amber Rodriguez, and Devaney Bruneda. We'd also like to recognize team managers Haley Gonzalez and Marisa Garcia, not present. And we also want to recognize the coaches. We'll start off with the assistant coaches, David Medina, Coach Hernandez, Coach Reina, Coach Ortiz, Coach Moses, and the girls' head coach of the Lady Panthers, Griselda Fino. Congratulations once again on a great season. Yes, parents. We want to also recognize the parents. We're already going on to the next one. Well, let's recognize the parents here for all the hard work. All right. Coming up next, we would like to have a big hand for those that are entering the room. These are members of our swim teams at Weslaco East and Weslaco High School. How about a big hand? Tonight, we are recognizing these athletes for achievements not only in the swimming pool, but also in the classroom, as these are all state academic distinctions we're announcing tonight. We'll start off with Weslaco ISD High School, made the all-state first team, academic team, Joshua Blas. And we'd like to recognize his head coach, Daniel Solis. From Weslaco High School, being named to the all-state academic elite team, Henry Sander. We'd like to recognize Henry's coaches, Alberto Ramirez, assistant coach, and head coach, Alexandra Trevino. At this time, we'd also like to recognize their parents. If they're here, can they please stand and be recognized? Parents. Thank you very much and congratulations. Good job. We do have one more recognition.
Good job, Coach.
Congratulations, Danny.
We do have one more recognition for a young man who is not here today, but we'd like to recognize him here at our meeting. This is a wrestler from the Weslaco High School boys wrestling team who qualified for state. And this was the first time since 2006 that someone from Weslaco High School had qualified for state. Placing 5th at the state meet in the heavyweight division from Weslaco High School is Roman Saldaña. So congratulations to him. And we'd also like to congratulate his coach, Rolando Becerra. The principal's here, so we'll give her a little bit of recognition. Okay, we do have one more recognition tonight. So tonight we want to congratulate the Public Information and KWES departments. Staff members recently traveled to Round Rock to attend the Texas Schools Public Relations Association Conference. Both departments submitted entries for various photos, print, and video contests, and we are pleased to announce the communications team won 14 Gold Star achievements, and in the video news and information category, KWES won Best in Category for the state of Texas for its show Trending at Weslaco ISD. And that concludes our awards and recognition.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, proclamations. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, Mr. President and trustees, we do have several proclamations. Now we'll turn it over to Mr. Carlos Robledo.
Hello. We'll start off with proclamations for social workers. So I think if they're here, do we have some social workers here? Can they please stand and be recognized? As I read this proclamation tonight, whereas professional social workers work on the front lines of human service delivery to help people solve real problems, whereas professional social workers see firsthand the insidious effects of hatred and prejudice on individuals, families, and communities, including a rise in hate crimes, and whereas professional social workers understand that crimes against individuals based on race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, political beliefs, and other characteristics diminish the humanity of victim and perpetrators alike. Therefore, Armando Cuellar, President of the WISD Board of Trustees, does hereby proclaim March 2022 as National Social Worker Month. Our next proclamation is Celebrate the Arts Month. So, Fine Arts Department, art teachers, will you please stand and be recognized? If you're, or if they're watching at home. Whereas art is a vital part of our lives, and the study, performance, and appreciation of the fine arts are important to our social, cultural, historical, and educational development. And whereas Weslaco Independent School District consistently supports the arts and strives to create an understanding and appreciation for the value of art in the home and the school and the community and the world, and the pursuit of the fine arts, whether it be through study, creating, composing, listening, performing, or participating, enriches our lives. Therefore, Armando Cuellar, President of Weslaco Independent School District Board of Trustees, does hereby declare April as Celebrates the Art Month. Our next proclamation is Librarian Appreciation Week. And we do have several of our librarians here. Would you please stand and recognize? Whereas school librarians model and promote information, literacy, and lifelong learning, which are integral to a free and democratic society. And whereas school librarians strive to provide their students and staff with the most current information available through the most appropriate technology, and whereas school librarians are an integral part of the K-12 curriculum, and school librarians are teachers first, school librarians collaborate with classroom teachers to strengthen student learning, and school librarians are leaders who promote reading and literacy. Therefore, be it resolved, Armando Cuellar, President of the Weslaco ISD Board of Trustees, does hereby proclaim April 11th through the 15th, 2022 as Librarian Appreciation Week. Up next, we have Public School Volunteer Week. So, Parental Department, we'd like to recognize you. Parental Department. Whereas one of the objectives of public education is for the parents to be full partners with educators in the education of their children, and whereas extensive research shows that parental involvement increases a child's academic success, and that students whose parents are involved in their educations achieve higher levels, and the Weslaco Independent School District supports parental involvement education through its parental home school community state model, which functions as a resource for regional educational service centers, school districts, parents, and community-based organizations in order to strengthen the relationship among families, schools, and local communities. Therefore, Armando Cuellar, President of the WISD Board of Trustees, does hereby proclaim April 18th to the 22nd, 2022 as Public School Volunteer Week. One more proclamation, and this is for everyone who's involved in after-school services. After-school services, I don't know if we have anybody here today, but if they are watching from their computers, this is for you. Whereas the citizens of Weslaco firmly believe that after-school professionals, those who work with children and youth in a wide variety of program settings to provide extended learning opportunities during out-of-school hours, have a positive effect on our children, families, community, and business. Whereas after-school professionals are decisive elements in children's access to high-quality relationships and expanded opportunities beyond what they have access to at school and home, which they need to reach their full potential. Whereas after-school professionals deserve appreciation for all that they do for children to enhance their education, promote physical and emotional health, provide a safe environment, and expose them to new experience. Therefore, Board President Armando Cuellar does hereby proclaim April 18th through the 22nd, 2022 as After-School Professionals Appreciation Week. And that concludes our proclamations. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Item 7, public comments. Okay, first we have Madison Cavazos. Okay, Madison, I'm gonna go through a little information here that I'm gonna give you before you say anything. But first of all, identify yourself and give your address.
I live at Rosewood Drive 3304.
Okay? Pursuant to the Texas Open Meeting Act, the Board of Trustees may not deliberate on any comment made by a member of the public on a subject that is not included on the agenda posted with notice of this meeting. As per the Texas Attorney General, the scope of board discussion for a subject not part of the meeting agenda is limited to only proposal by a board member to place the subject on a future board agenda. Specific factual information or recitation of existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries, but the board shall not deliberate or decide regarding any subject that is not included on the agenda posted with notice of the meeting. Audience participation at a board meeting is limited to the portion of the meeting designated for that purpose. At all other times during a board meeting, the audience shall not enter into discussion, a debate on matters being considered by the board, unless recognized by the presiding officer. No public comment presentation shall exceed 5 minutes. Any disruptive behavior by any speaker may result in the speaker's removal from participation in the meeting. Please be mindful of using names or personally identifiable information, as there is no immunity from defamatory comments while participating in public comments. You now have the floor.
Good evening, and my name is Madison Cavazos. I am a junior Lighthouse member and a third grader at a WISD school. I am coming to you this evening and asking you to consider removing the uniform guidelines for elementary and middle schools. I think that the students will still dress appropriately for school. Here is just 4 reasons why I think we should get rid of uniforms. First, they are very uncomfortable, so you can barely focus. The reason I know is I sit in a uniform all week. I also see other students not able to focus because of the uncomfortable clothes we wear. Sometimes they are tight and stiff, so they are not comfortable to move around in. As soon as I get home, the first thing I do is change out of my school clothes and look for something more comfortable to wear. The next reason uniforms should be removed is because high schools are doing it, so why can't we middle and elementary schools do it? I think that the younger students would not wear something that's inappropriate for schools, unlike older students. My third reason is we can't express ourselves with our outfits. Being able to express who we are as individuals will allow more friends to be made and give students their own voice. Habit 8. We are all unique in our own special way. We should be able to express who we are in our clothing. Students would be more cheerful and happy about going to school if they didn't have to wear uniforms. Last but not least, uniforms are a double clothing expense. Parents are having to buy school uniforms and regular clothing for after school, weekends, sporting events, church, and more. Also, it is difficult to find clothing that fits us when us kids are growing and growing. So replacing the uniforms throughout the school year is just more money. Let's have the parents buy one set of clothing that will be worn for all occasions. I do think we could have a dress code, and here are some examples. No see-through leggings, no bad-word shirts, no short shorts, no tank tops, no ripped jeans, no pajamas. These are just a few ideas I was thinking of. The district can come up with one dress code for all the schools. Thank you for your time this evening and considering removing uniform guidelines.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Mejia. Council, do I have to recite this thing for everyone, or once was enough? Okay, Mr.
I know
Mejia,
the rules, you know that.
I know. State your name and your address.
My name is Edward Mejia, as you know, and my address is 721 East Torito Street here in Weslaco.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, Mr. Mejia. You have the floor.
I'll only take one because I was already given an update today as to why I was going to come before y'all, before come public comments. So because I was given an update on my major status, a situation that I came before y'all last week about, I'm going to go ahead and wait the process and give it its due diligence. And hopefully, like I mentioned to y'all last week, and I was very upset and irate, I'm hopefully given the due diligence and fair process that is due any single individual that comes before y'all, regardless if it's Edward Mejia or anybody besides myself. I was gonna come yesterday and speak in front of y'all too, but I was at the city commission meeting because how ironic that the city's going through a city manager position, interview as well, same time y'all were going through superintendent. So the only thing I'm gonna say on that notion is that since y'all went through many, many different applicants, I hope that myself, as a proud political activist of this town for more than 20 years of my life, I hope that you have the best district in mind when it comes to selecting the next superintendent, regardless if it's him or her. This district is due balance, as you know, since we've been going up and down from past superintendents. And I don't speak alone when I say that. I've been getting many, many phone calls day after day with people wanting to know when the stability is going to finally happen, because who we have right now sitting there, which I hope she would have stayed, but she no longer is going to, would have been an excellent asset to this district. But everyone to their own choices, which I respect wholeheartedly. So as I mentioned, I hope that when y'all do come to the point where y'all select the next superintendent, that you have this great district that I went through, you all went through, everyone has basically had someone go through, and you have that focus in hand, because it's way past you that there's great stability in this district, and hopefully politics doesn't play a hand in it, since how ironically as well, and it has to be mentioned, we're going through a major school board race this coming November, and there's 4 seats up, so hopefully that doesn't take effect as to what happens, and y'all just have the best individual in mind. And one more time, as I mentioned, I hope to be given the opportunity to hear my grievances through the process and get my issues resolved, because I don't wish what I went through upon anybody, not even my worst enemy, because of the fact how my political affiliation should have no bearing as to allowing myself to come to these meetings as a public individual of this great city. So again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to come before you all, and I wait to hear for the first resolution, as I was told before the meeting started. Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you. Now we have is it Dr. Sergio Garcia? State your name, your address.
Sergio Garcia, 422 Cardinal Street in Edinburgh, Texas.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Cuellar. Good evening, President Cuellar, board trustees, guests, and the virtual audience. It is an honor to stand before you tonight in solidarity with my fellow cabinet members, school principals, and many other district staff members. You will soon be selecting a new district superintendent, and we know that it will not be Dr. Chris Valdez. Although we respect Dr. Valdez's decision not to apply for the superintendent position, many of us can't help but feel saddened by these news. However, we are excited about the new possibilities to come with the new WISD superintendent. The cabinet, principals, teachers, and all other WISD staff are ready to welcome the new superintendent who will lead this district forward to accomplish the district's mission, vision, and goals. It's no secret that it was a tumultuous time shortly before Dr. Valdez became the interim superintendent. But she came in and it seemed as if she had been here all along. Her transition as the interim superintendent was seamless, and her combined styles of leadership were like a breath of fresh air for us. As Martin Luther King Jr. once stated, The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Dr. Valdez exemplified just that. She was a different type of superintendent, always making time to meet with parents who requested to meet with her, and she never frowned upon cabinet members barging into her office, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time, as we sought her guidance on different matters. Dr. Valdez, we want to thank you for your leadership in the short time that you were with us. Because of you, the cabinet became more unified, and more than ever, we looked to each other for support. We learned to smile again, even when things got tough, and to face a new day with enthusiasm, excitement, and hope, and not letting the everyday noise drown our purpose for being here, which is to serve the students and staff of WISD. WISD staff would like to honor you with this token of appreciation and best wishes on your new adventure. And board members, if you could join us, please. If you could join us, I believe the public information would like to take a picture with Dr. Valdez and you guys. Thank you.
I love you, Ms. V.
We now will go to item 8, the superintendent's report. Dr. Valdez.
President Cuellar, members of the board, and public, we have a brief interim superintendent's report this evening. We wanted to honor and respect the additional time in our taper public hearing for this evening, which we got to share the accountability data for 2021. So the only 2 topics I have are the summary of active COVID-19 cases. We still closely monitor because we're still in the midst of a global health pandemic. But the numbers are looking positive as far as the decline in active cases. As of today, we had 42 student positive cases and 10 staff positive cases, which is quite a difference from when we launched the spring semester in battling the Omicron variant. And then you have the next slide where it indicates by campus. And the following slide shows the data of neighboring school districts. And so you see that all of us within the area are declining as far as cases are concerned. And then the second topic is we always share the enrollment data and the average daily attendance, ADA data, every month to the trustees and public. And as you know, enrollment and ADA has been a concern for our district, for districts throughout the region and the state. And we're yet to hear from Commissioner Morath on how we're going to, as far as the second semester on the average daily attendance. And so you have the figures, the data there for district enrollment and ADA comparison from the 25th week of school, from 2021 to 2022, and you see the decline, the difference in enrollment. And so we are minus 739 children as far as the 25th week comparison from last year to this year. As well as the average daily attendance, you see the ADA difference. It's about a 3.6 percentage point decline from 94.59% to 90.99%. And of course, that's due to the COVID-19 cases. And then the next slide does have it broken down by levels, by elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, our alternative, and our ELF Academy, that's our pre-K academy. You see the difference, the majority that were deficient is in the elementary. With our elementary schools, we're minus 438 students there, 230 at the middle school, 170 at the high schools. Of course, our alternative shows a positive, but however, that's because last school year, we did not run the DAP program. And so you see the grand total of minus 739. And then you see the breakdown by ADA. And notice the ELF Academy, that's always a challenge with pre-K students, is attendance. And so you see the declines there. But that is our report as far as enrollment and ADA. And the final slide is, of course, ADA means public school finance, right? So the ADA was $15,200 was budgeted for the 2021-22 school year, and the actual ADA has been up to the first 4 weeks of school, $13,841, which is a shortfall of $1,359. Do you recall that Commissioner Morath does have a mechanism in place for the first 6 weeks as far as average daily attendance, and we are forecasting that the same mechanism will apply for the Omicron variant that caused so much a shortfall in ADA during the 4-6 weeks, but that's pending from the Texas Education Agency. And that concludes the interim superintendent's report for this month.
Thank you, Dr. Valdez.
You're welcome.
Item 9, consent agenda. Have a look at the items before you, and then we'll see if there's anything that you'd like to pull up and discuss. Are you all ready? Mr. Nieto?
None.
Mr. Staita?
Yes, I'd like to pull out for discussion item E.
Item E?
Mhm.
Dr. Rodriguez?
I have none.
Mr. Los Santos?
I have none.
Okay, all we need is, how about Mr. Gonzalez?
I have none.
You have none? What about Costeño? So I'm writing something down, so we'll. Okay. Okay, so he has none to pull? Okay, with the exception of E, do we have a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda?
So move.
We have a motion by Mr. Nieto and a second by.
Except for E.
Pardon?
Except for E.
Yeah, with the exception of E,
Yes.
to approve the consent agenda as presented. Okay, we had a second by Dr. Rodriguez. Okay. Let's take it to a vote. Signify you approve by saying aye, or no if you don't approve. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Mr. Staita?
Aye.
Dr. Jaime Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
And I believe Coach Trevino, he's not here to vote, so we'll just.
You have a quorum anyway.
But motion carries. We have a majority vote. Now for item E, Mrs. Saita.
Yes, the reason why I wanted to pull this item out, this has to do with the RGV Lead, which is a great program. My only question was, when I was looking at the numbers, the membership fee, annual membership fee is about almost $10,000, and they charge $2 per student between 9th through 12th grade, according to our PEMS data. But I noticed that they're using the enrollment from 2020 to 2021, so obviously our enrollment numbers have decreased, right? And about 1,000 students less this year. And so that's quite a bit of money. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's still something. It's about $1,000. So I was just wondering if we could, I don't know, make a deal with them or something that we can say, hey, we want to keep the program, but can you use updated numbers of this year instead of last year, because our numbers did decrease? Is somebody here from our, that can help me out?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you,
Oh,
Mrs.
awesome.
Staita. We noted that too, Mrs. Avila, y'all can come up. We did note that because of the decline in enrollment throughout the region and the state, and that is something that Mr. Sanchez and I did talk about. So I'm happy that we have our GV lead staff here.
Yes,
Okay.
good evening, Dr. Valdez, Mr. Cuellar, and members of the board. I kind of figured y'all were going to have this question. I've been asking Mr. Luis Rodriguez this question myself. I know Mr. Sanchez did ask me, are enrollments lower? Is there anything we can do to make sure that they'll lower the cost for us with this year's figures? And so I'll let Mr. Rodriguez speak in just a few minutes. I asked him to come because I said, this isn't our enrollment, and our board members are going to ask us, and we need to save our district money. So what they said that they do, they agreed to do this back in 2012. Before, when we had this program since 2000, the federal Perkins would take care of this. But then they stopped the funding, and then what they did in 2012 is they got together with the superintendents at a superintendent's breakfast, and I'm going to let Mr. Rodriguez speak, but what he has advised me is that they agreed upon using the PEMS from the summer submission. So like this year's enrollment in the summer will be used for next year's cost, is how they do that. A lot of the events have been virtual, because I know you had a question, well, how many students are actually participating? It's been hard because it's been virtual. He did give me a figure of 300 and some for the Virtual Career Expo. And I brought also Mr. Eloy Garza, who's our marketing teacher from East. He was nominated and selected as Teacher of the Year from RGV Lead. So I thought I'd put in a plug this evening. So they have different events, and I know Weslaco High School sometimes participates, and sometimes East High School participates. It just depends. And also CTE Early College High School participates in the different types of events that they have. Like this year, I know Mr. Garza is going to participate in the Young Entrepreneurship Program, and he's got 5 teams participating out of the 14 this year. So great job. We've had a winner last year, I believe, get $1,500 for winning this competition. But I'm going to let them speak, just in case you have some questions, particularly for them. If you don't have any more for me.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Valdez, President Cuellar, nice to meet you. Luis Rodriguez, Executive Director for RGV Lead. Thank you for having me. It's a great question. And we get that question a lot. Why the $2? Why do we charge $2 per every high school student? And the way we charge. She said it perfect. We use the data based on the past year, charging for the coming year. And that's how RGV Lead is funded. That's a majority of funding. We have now started to do outside fundraisers that we're utilizing for additional scholarships. But the basis of our funding for all the programs that we run is based on the school district membership numbers from across the Rio Grande Valley and the school districts. So we use the data that you submitted in the summer for the coming, for the coming year, so 21, 22. The data that just got approved from the Texas Education Agency that just got approved, we'll use for this coming summer for the following school year. That's how we allocate our funding. That was a decision that superintendents and business individuals, like-minded, decided when the Perkins Reserve Grant ended in 2012. So that's how we've been funded since 2012. So I hope that answers your question. I wish, I wish we could, but that's just everything that all the school districts, that are members of RGV Lead and all the great programs, and we're still adding to these programs. I was just telling Mr. Garza today that I just secured $10,000 for scholarships for students that are members of RGV Lead as far as school districts. And we're actually going to have a college signing day with TSTC. Students that are currently enrolled in CTE or dual enrollment that are going to continue their education at TSTC, we're gonna hype it up in the Valley. I'm excited about football players, I'm excited about baseball players, but why can't these students that are going to continue their welding certification and get ready for a career be highlighted as well? April 14th, if you'd like to join us, we're going to be at the TSTC Gymnasium. So we're continuing to expand. We just secured virtual reality headsets that we're going to start putting out into our middle schools for career exploration. So great opportunity.
Go ahead. I just wanted to interject. I tell him he needs to work with STC because we do a lot of dual enrollment.
We're working with STC. We did a ski shoot fundraiser, and all that money, the proceeds that we told our donors was that specifically could go for scholarships and paid internships. So we've already worked with TSTC. They were the first ones on board with us. We're working with South Texas College. We're working with TSC and UTRGV. Those are all members of our board of directors, and we want to make sure that they also get funded. We're also including Texas A&M. They're new to the Valley, and so we want to push those initiatives with them as well. So we're really trying to do as much with as little as we have. We're a staff of 4 that covers all of Region 1, basically. So,
Okay.
but hopefully, that answers your question.
Yes, and I'm thinking, okay, well, so if our enrollment goes up next year, we're going to get the discount because we made up for it.
It's kind of fluctuating, yeah, it is.
I mean, it'll make up.
And I'm proud to say that I just got the figures because we just placed the order that Weslaco ISD has 635 RGV Lead scholars. That means they graduated from a foundation program along with accreditation. So 635 of the 900 and I think it was 85, almost 1,000. So that's about 70% of your students are graduating with some type of certification here.
What a great program.
And they get recognized. Yes, they get a cord, they place the cord, and so very excited about that. So
Great program. Thank you, guys.
I'm glad we called you up, 'cause
Congratulations
that's
on the
awesome.
award as well, too.
Thank you. I don't know. Well,
Yes.
if it would add value to talk a little bit about the experience the students have had. Hello, Dr. Valdez, President Cuellar, members of the board. My name is Eloy Garza. I serve as your marketing instructor at Weslaco East High School, and it's an absolute honor to be here. Just to give you a little bit of insight into what the students are doing, they have the opportunity to really embody the entrepreneurial mindset and develop business plans. Moreover, they get the chance and the opportunity to be mentored by very prestigious business people from across our region. We have students that are being mentored by executive vice presidents of banks and who are being mentored by presidents, CEOs. We are affording our kiddos here with tremendous opportunity to not only learn about these valuable skills in the classroom, but also be mentored by local business experts. And these are experiences that are invaluable to them. And so last year we had a young lady in the midst of COVID, she wanted to go for it, and she developed an app that helps people find healthier alternatives to food. So if you like keto, if you are vegetarian, if whatever the case it may be, she developed an app. She presented it with the RGV Lead competition. She won $1,500 cash money in her pocket. Oh, wow. And I mean, she used that exact same competition to compete for DECA, went to state. We just came back from Houston last week. She's doing, we're doing phenomenal things. This year we have 5 teams, 9 students competing. And we want all 3. We want first, second, third, and we're going to continue pushing that way. But aside from the money and the mentors, we also gain access to the CIC that's right here in our backyard. And the winners of this competition get the opportunity to gain full access to all of the phenomenal resources that the university is offering. So, yeah, I'm kind of biased. I think it's a great program. With the things that we're trying to accomplish at Weslaco East High School, developing a student-led, business services organization, we provide comprehensive marketing solutions to businesses in our community at no cost in exchange for experiential learning. And so this is another aspect of that concept. That has been deemed a national model by the U.S. Department of Education, and we want to continue growing it. Opportunities like this that we're being afforded really helps in that aim. So Thank you. I'll stop talking. I appreciate the opportunity.
I just realized you're my son's teacher. I
Yes,
have you
ma'am.
on my.
And Rick is competing this year,
Yes,
so.
and my son's competing in this, and thank you so much.
He's the one being mentored by the Executive Vice President from Texas National.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
so much. So, yeah, it's a
Let's
great
revisit
program.
item E.
I didn't know if we could get a discount, but we'll get it next year with
So,
our enrollment numbers.
Are we gonna make a motion to approve?
Yeah.
Yeah, motion to approve, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Dos Santos and a second by Mr. Staita
Yes.
to approve item E on the consent agenda. Let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Mr. Staita.
Aye.
Costa Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos.
Aye.
And Mr. Gonzalez. Okay, motion carries on item E of the consent agenda. We now go to item 10, discussion items. Dr. Valdez?
The first item is interim financial report for the 6 months ended February 28, 2022. This report is submitted to inform the Board of Trustees of the district's financial status. No action is required. And we have Mr. Sanchez.
Yes, thank you.
You may
Dr. Valdez.
proceed, sir.
Yes, the financial report for the general fund revenues for the 6 months ended February 28, 2022. We had 177 million of revenues budgeted in our adjusted budget, broken down by local, 26.3 million, state, 136 million, and federal, 14.5 million. We have received a total of 106,613,000, which represents 60%. The highest percentage we have is in the tax collections, which we have received 24 million out of 26 budgeted. Next slide. The next slide is on expenditures, general fund again, broken down in 5 categories. Instructional related, we have an adjusted budget of 117.6 million. We have encumbered or expended 44.9 million, which represents 38%. Instructional support, budget of 25.7 million. We have expended or encumbered 13.8 million, which represents 53.6%. Administration, the different functions that tie to that, we have a budget adjusted of 13.4 million. We have spent or encumbered 7.4 million, which is 55%. District-wide support, a budget of 22.2 million. We have expended or encumbered 11.7 million, which represents 53%. And debt service, that's for the payment of our maintenance tax notes. A budget 2.1 million, we have already spent 1.2 million, which represents 55%. Overall, of the budget we have spent or encumbered 43.6%. The next slide, and there are several slides, talk about the adjustment we have done to the fund balance. We have made this report to you at every meeting of the adjustment that we have, total 8.4 million, of which 6.6 million came from the restricted fund balance for allotments from the state for money that we did not spend, that we had to spend it over a 3-year period. So we brought forward from the restricted fund balance 6.6 million, plus we had 1.8 million of several items that we have brought to you every month. Fortunately, we had it every month pretty much. The total is 1.8. And those are adjustments that we have listed in the following pages. Do you have any questions on the report?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andres. The acknowledgement of the tax collections. Okay, item B, acknowledgement of the Hidalgo County Tax Office Collection Report for January 2022, current taxes and delinquent taxes. Dr. Valdez?
Yes, also no action is required on this. Administration recommends the board's acknowledgement of the county's tax collection reports. Mr. Sanchez?
Yes. This report of tax collections is for the month of January 2022. Now, the current taxes of the current levy of 26.2 million that were levied. We have collected 21.5 million through January 31. There have been increases to the tax levy of 1.1 million. And all the collections in the end through January 31 have been 68.68%. The prior year also, as of January 31, we had collected 79.3% of the levy at that time. That is 1.15 less collections than the prior year, percentage-wise. On the delinquent taxes, of a levy that started with 3.8 million uncollected, we have collected $390,600. We have adjustments decreasing the delinquent taxes by 98,000. That in total represents 10.4%. The same month, January of the prior year, we had collected 13.4%, so we are 3% less in collections for delinquent through January 31. Any questions on that report?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
That takes us to item 11, discussion and possible action items. A, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of a resolution of the board regarding the adoption of individual planning committees for grades 1st through 8th for the 2021-2022 school year. Dr. Valdez?
Yes, we bring to the Board of Trustees a resolution for grades 1 through 8 for the implementation of individual planning committees for this school year so that way we can amend EIE local. Administration recommends your approval, and this is due to the COVID academic slide.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Rodriguez, and we have a second by Mr. Gonzalez.
Los Santos.
Oh, Mr. Los Santos, okay, I stand corrected. To approval of the resolution for the board regarding the adoption of individual planning committees for grades 1 through 8 for the 2021-2022 school year. Do we have any discussion? Okay, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Sustaita? Costa Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez? Motion carries. Item B, discussion and possible action for the board to consider renewal of the district's property and casualty insurance, boiler and machinery, property and contents, inland marine and flood, RFP number 21-03-23, or authorize administration to solicit proposals for same. Dr. Valdez.
Administration recommends approval to offer the renewal offer from Amwins Brokerage of Texas through Montalvo Insurance Agency for the district's property and casualty insurance package.
So move to approve the
I
renewal.
have a motion by
Second.
Mr. Nieto and a second by Mr. Los Santos to renew the district's property and casualty insurance, boiler machinery, property contents, inland marine flood, RFP number 21-03-23. Do we have any discussion? Okay, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Ms. Leita? Costa Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez? Motion carries. Item C, discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of extra duty pay for staff that provide instructional support for students during the summer and for the teacher pay for curriculum writing and during extended day and Saturday school for 2022-2023 school year. Dr. Valdez?
With the COVID academic slide impact on our children, administration recommends approval of the extra duty pay for instructional supports.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by
Los Santos.
Mr. Los Santos and a second by Dr. Rodriguez to consider the approval of the extra duty pay for staff that provide instructional support for students during the summer and for teacher pay for the curriculum writing and during extended day, Saturday school for the 2022-2023 school year. Do we have any discussion?
Just that this is an increased pay from last year, correct? So we've increased the pay for all those positions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Nieto. In some areas we have, Mr. Garlick did a wonderful job soliciting feedback from all campus administrators. We did discuss, we're planning ahead for the summer to make sure everything's in order, but we wanted to look at all categories that you see before you to make sure that we are competitive in that market, and we start planning and making this available out to our staff.
Yeah, it's a great initiative to increase recruitment.
Yes, sir.
So,
Absolutely.
And we very much appreciate that because, as you well know, the cost of living right now is very, very, very challenging, so
Yes, sir.
every little bit helps, so
Yes, sir.
Good point.
very, very, very good move there to help our staff.
Yes, and great feedback from all our campus administrators, and Mr. Garlick did a wonderful job getting us all together and having those thorough discussions, what's going to be our best for our staff and our students moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name.
Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry, I just walked
Okay.
in. Maybe I
Ms. Taita,
missed it.
go ahead.
Is this, during summer, you know how other districts start changing their rates? Maybe I missed this, I'm not sure I missed it. Can we still, just in case, move them around?
That will be at the discretion of the board.
Okay.
And if the board wishes to do that, we will definitely revisit it. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
there's only like one other district that has these rates currently right now, right? Like right now, this is one of the highest rates in the valley
Yes, sir.
that we're offering our teachers and our paraprofessionals, especially our paraprofessional staff. I saw that, increasing it to $30. That's good because they also provide an instructional resource
Yes,
in
sir.
some cases, yeah.
Mr. Garland and his staff did do some legwork on that, to do some research on some other districts.
Right.
And our goal is to be competitive with it and be fair as well.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know, just in case that we
Sure.
need to stay competitive and people start changing it during summer.
Do we want to revisit the agenda wording before we vote, or just leave it as is? Okay,
Leave it as is, and we can just change in case.
okay, yeah.
Later
And-
on,
and
just in case.
That flexibility will be there when and if
Yes,
it's
sir.
necessary. Okay, well, let's vote.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Ms. Taita?
Aye.
Costa Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Andrew? Okay, motion carries. Item D, discussion and possible action for the board to amend board policy CE local to reflect the change of the school district's fiscal year. Dr. Valdez?
Yes, with the change in our fiscal year from July 1 to end on June 30th, we need to reflect that on CE local. Administration recommends approval.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. De Los Santos,
Second.
and, okay, a second by Ms. Taita. Is there any discussion?
Dr. Rodriguez.
Oh, motion by Dr. Rodriguez. Thank you. And that's because I weren't hearing it. Okay. Okay, we stand corrected on that. So, do we have discussion?
It won't affect any kind of, budgets or anything, or with the salary study coming in May. We should be
No.
okay with the timeline.
Correct.
To figure everything out? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's bring it to a vote. Signify your approval, say aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Ms. Taita?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Dos Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez? Okay, motion carries. Item E. Discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of a procurement method of construction for Dr. R.E. Margo Elementary minor parking lot improvements and the Weslaco East High School storm drain connection to the city of Weslaco's storm drain system. First, board determination of procurement method of construction that will provide the best value to the district for the project. Two, board determination to retain the authority to rank the proposals to be received for this project, or board delegation of their authority to the administration to rank the proposals to be received. And three, approval of criteria and points to be used for ranking the proposals. Dr. Valdez.
Yes, so this item's regarding a minor project that we have that we'd like to proceed with. It's with Weslaco East High School as far as the, to connect Weslaco East drainage system to the city of Weslaco's new detention facility. And also Margot Elementary parking lot needs, the gutter's too small there for the volume of water that it handles. And so we need a larger gutter. And so also in addition to that with Margot, we also need a minor ADA compliance issue to be addressed in the south parking lot. And so we do have Americo Garza here available for any questions. Administration does recommend the competitive seal proposal method of construction first. I don't know if you want to break down each one? I think we should. Okay. So our administration recommends the competitive seal proposals method of construction.
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Dr. Rodriguez,
Second.
a second by Mrs. Sustaita to approve the procurement method of construction for the Dr. R.E. Mario Elementary minor parking lot improvements and the Weslaco East storm drain connection to the city of Weslaco storm drain system. Do we have any discussion? Okay, we're voting on the procurement method. Let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto, pardon?
He needs to mention that it is the competitive seal proposal, so that's what you're agreeing.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm reading all these things here. Competitive,
Seal proposals.
Seal proposals.
It's in the other paper.
You
okay,
need a
well,
motion to
the
approve
motion has been made, but I
the
just want to
method.
word this correctly so we don't miss the political correctness of
But I
this
think
thing.
whoever made the
But
motion
this is-
didn't say the detail.
So, yeah, I just,
You have to say yes.
so my motion is to approve administration's recommendation to use the competitive seal proposal method of construction.
Correct.
Is there any discussion on that? Okay, now, let's vote to approve. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Ms. Taita?
Aye.
Coach Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez? Okay, motion carries for the, okay.
So just,
We now go to the next part of this.
I'll make a motion to give the authority to rank the proposals to be received for this project to our administration.
Okay, so Mr. Staita makes the motion to delegate the authority to the administration to rank the proposals to be received. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Nieto. Is there any discussion? Okay, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Ms. Staita?
Aye.
Coach Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And finally, the approval of criteria and points to be used for the ranking of proposals.
Motion to approve criteria and points to be used for ranking the proposals.
Okay, we have a motion by
Second.
Dr. Rodriguez to approve the criteria and points to be used for the ranking. Do we have a second?
Second, yes.
We have a second by Mr. Los Santos. Is there any discussion?
Just a quick question, if I may. I was looking at the criteria, Mr. Garza, and I see that 10 points is for favorable and unfavorable references of contractor for similar projects. And then I saw 5 points for subcontractors to be used for this project. And I was wondering, because of your experience with, a lot of the projects, do you really use their references, or because you've had so much experience and you know who does a good job and what contractors do or don't, would you give more points to who they're using as their subs?
Yes, great question, Ms. Sustaita. Good evening, Dr. Valdez, Coach Cuellar, members of the board. So yeah, we do use a combination. So we do call references at times and experience. Based on experience, we do have a list of unfortunately bad experiences that we've had with contractors. And so that's what we're looking for. If they're using a subcontractor who has not performed well for us in the past and we have experience with them, then they'll lose some points there.
So do you think we should change the points more than 5 and give 10 points to references, or is it just fine like that?
We've been doing okay with it.
We've been doing okay?
Yes, because the cost of the project carries a lot of weight as well. And so right there, that's where they kind of separate themselves.
Okay.
And so the other points that are assigned to the other criteria, they kind of just fine tune the final results, right?
Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye. Call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Ms. Taita.
Aye.
Costa Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
And Mr. Los Santos.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item F. Discussion and possible action for the board to consider approval of a procurement method of construction for the fire alarm system upgrades at 2 schools, Rudy Margo Silva Junior Elementary and Justice Raul A. Gonzalez Elementary. 1, board determination of procurement method of construction that will provide the best value to the district for the project. 2, board determination to retain the authority to rank the proposals to be received for this project, or board delegation of their authority to the administration to rank the proposals to be received. And 3rd, approval of criteria and points to be used for ranking the proposals. Dr. Valdez?
The fire alarm systems at Rudy Silva and Raul Gonzalez Elementary schools are in need of an upgrade. And so the system components are obsolete, so we really need to update those systems. Administration does recommend your approval. First, administration recommends the competitive seal proposals method of construction for number 1.
Make a motion to approve the competitive sealed proposals procurement method.
Okay, we have a motion by
Second.
Jackie Valdez and a second by Mr. Los Santos. Worded?
Well, we can do the motion for all 3 categories at once?
Eloy
no?
said one by one.
One by
instead of-
one? You want so? Okay. Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
One by one.
right now, what the motion is to approve the procurement method of construction for the fire alarm system upgrades for the 2 schools, Rudy Silva Junior and Justice Raul A. Gonzalez.
As competitive sealed proposals.
Correct.
Is there any discussion? None? Let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Ms. Taita.
Aye.
Costa Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos.
Aye.
Motion carries. The board determination to retain the authority to rank the proposals to be received by this project, or board delegation of their authority to the administration to rank the proposals to be received.
I make a motion to give the board, to give delegation of authority to the administration to
I'll
rank the
second.
proposals.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Taita and a second by Mr. Los Santos to give the authority to the administration to rank the proposals to be received. Any discussion? Okay, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval, saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Ms. Taita.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I missed Coach Trevino.
Aye.
And Dr. Rodriguez has voted yes, and we have Mr. Los Santos. Motion carries. Sorry about that, getting myself ahead of that, Coach Trevino. My apologies. Okay. We have the Part 3, the approval of the criteria and points to be used for ranking the proposals.
Make a motion to use the criteria and the points that are already on this agenda. Approval.
Second.
A second by Mr. Los Santos and a motion by Mrs. Taita to use the criteria and points to be used for the ranking of the proposal. Is there any discussion? None? Take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Ms. Taita.
Aye.
Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos.
Aye.
Motion carries. And item G, discussion and possible action for the board to consider the addition of the communication process by the Board of Trustees and Superintendent approved in the February 15, 2022 board meeting to BBE Local. Dr. Valdez.
The board voted unanimously in favor of this item of the communication process between the superintendent and the board of trustees. This is simply to just to get your approval to add it to BBE Local.
So move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Nieto,
Second.
second by Dr. Rodriguez, to consider the addition of the communications process by the board of trustees and superintendent approved in the February 15, 2022 board meeting to BBE Local. Is there any discussion?
I just wanted to say that I wanted to thank everybody on the board for supporting it. I know that there was some feedback that we got from TASB that we're probably one of the only districts in the state of Texas to have a policy like this within our district, and it increases our transparency. And I just want to thank all of you all for that, and I think that's a big step.
Obviously, that the very supportive and support that move, Mr. Dos Santos. Well, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Ms. Staita?
Aye.
Costeño?
Aye.
Mr. Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
And Mr. Dos Santos?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Excuse me, Mr. President, Mr. Andrew Gonzalez left the meeting at 7:11.
Pardon?
7:11? Mr. Gonzalez left the meeting at 7:11.
Okay, 7:11. For the record, Mr. Gonzalez left the meeting at 7:11. Appreciate that. Now we go to item 12, closed meeting to discuss, A, personnel matters, Texas Government Code 551.074. 1, employment of certified professional personnel. 2, resignations, retirements. 3, deliberation regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, Texas Government Code 551.074 and 551.071. 4, discussion and consideration of the Level 3 grievance held on March 2nd, 2022 regarding J. Campos pursuant to policy DGBA Local. And B, consultation with attorney regarding A, pending or contemplated litigation, B, a settlement offer, or C, a matter in which the duty of attorney to the Weslaco ISD under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Texas Government Code 551.071. The time now is 7:40, and we will go into closed session. The time now is 8:03, and we have reconvened an open meeting. Item A, possible action if necessary on items discussed in closed meetings. 1, discussion and possible action on employment of certified professional personnel. Dr. Valdez?
Administration recommends approval as presented in closed session.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Dr. Rodriguez and a second by
De Los Santos.
Mr. Los Santos. Let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval. I say now when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Mrs. Sustaita?
Aye.
Mr. Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
And Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 2, discussion and possible action on resignations and retirements. Dr. Valdez.
Administration recommends approval as presented in closed session.
The motion to approve?
Okay, we have a motion by Mr.
Nieto.
Nieto, and a second by
Second.
Mr. Los Santos. Take it to a vote. Signify your approval, saying aye when I call your name. Mr. Nieto?
Aye.
Mrs. Saita?
Aye.
Mr. Trevino?
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Los Santos?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 3. Discussion possible action on level 3 grievance held on March 2nd, 22 regarding the J Campus pursuant to policy DGBA. The time now is 8:04 PM, and the board has reconvened in open session with regard to the level 3 grievance requested by Mr. Joe Campos. Does any board member have a motion?
I'll move to approve level 2 grievance.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Rodriguez
To uphold.
to uphold the level 2 grievance,
Second.
and a second by Mr. Nieto. Okay, let's take it to a vote. Signify your approval by saying aye or no if you don't approve. Mr. Nieto.
Aye.
Mr. Sustaita.
Aye.
Costa Trevino.
Aye.
Dr. Rodriguez.
Aye.
And Mr. Los Santos.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 14, adjournment.
So move.
Okay, the time now is 8:05. We are adjourned.